a big day in the portal, and we're getting a little bit of a late start, but forgive us, we got a lot to talk about now.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by, I got the hiccups just in the middle of that. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day because you have helped make Locked On the number one. And I got another hiccup. You have helped make Locked On the number one sports podcast network there is. Thank you so much. Jimmy, while I hold my breath and count to 10, trying to get rid of these things, I'm going to let you talk about the big day Alabama had. It was a monster one. Look, there was no Jacarius Peak. There was no Hollywood Smothers. But there was some really big news. And you made a point in a text thread about how when you get some guys who are thinking about going to the NFL to come back, that's almost like signing a portal guy.
Yeah, I guess you're referring to Bray Hubbard. I mean, and this is what I mean by that, because that was just like a text, to Luke and some guys. What I mean by that is, and we'll get to the portal guys in a second, but when you re-sign a Bray Hubbard, that's going to take a substantial financial commitment. And there was no guarantee you were going to get Bray Hubbard back because he could have entered the draft or he could have entered the portal for a huge payday. He turned down both of those things. Why? Because Alabama paid him. Alabama paid him a lot to come back because he's an All-American. We talk all the time. There's this idea out there that Alabama doesn't pay. That's absurd. It's absurd. Alabama pays a lot. Alabama's one of the biggest payers out there. They just don't pay everything for everybody like some fans would like them to do. But they paid Bray well because he's passing on the draft and passed on the portal. That's not like signing a portal player, but really it is because you had to pony up or he wasn't going to be back. Just because Bray, no doubt, has a value in the sport. It's not fair to Bray that he's not paid what his value is. So Alabama did that, and it kind of feels like getting an all-star out of the portal, or certainly has that impact. But Alabama did actually sign players out of the portal, 3, although we're going to talk about 4 because I don't think we got to the guy last night that committed. I think it was last night, the Mississippi State nose guard. That's a story. I don't think we've talked about it here on the show yet, so I'll just mention, Kedrick Billings Jones. I think it's. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. But
start with him. Okay, start with him because he is like.
Yeah, we'll start with him because
given him his flowers last night.
Yeah, he committed first, and again, this was not a big commitment because this is not a highly ranked guy. This is not a guy that's going to come in and start. He's not a guy that's going to be even a contender to start. He's a depth guy, but he's a depth guy that may get in the rotation. He's a true nose guard, and Alabama is short on true nose guards. London Simmons is the guy you would project to be the starting nose guard this fall, and I'm very high on London. We all should be. London Simmons looks like he has all the makings to be a great SEC defensive lineman. But backing him is Jeremiah Beeman, who missed all of this past year, and Asaya Faga, who plays there but is kind of a little undersized. So this guy's 6'4", 320. Is he awesome? Is he, like I said, is he going to be a starter? No, but like we've talked about here on the show multiple times, not every player you sign out of the portal is signed for the purpose of becoming an immediate starter. I don't know where people get that idea that every kid you sign from the portal has to be a contender or a number one guy, but that's just not the case. You need 105 guys on the roster, and you need some depth, and he's going to provide some good depth if his petition for an extra year is approved. As of now, he's out of eligibility. He's in Jamarian Latham's exact position of trying to get a 6th year, a 7th year. He's trying to get a 7th year like Latham, citing injuries. As we all know from the Trinidad Chambliss case, which has been very publicized recently, some people think that when you apply for next year, the NCAA just gives it to you. That's absolutely not true. You don't get any higher profile than Trinidad Chambliss. His application for next year was denied. most applications are denied, but there are reasons it can be approved. I don't know what his chances are. I think it's pretty good, or Alabama wouldn't have spent considerable time on him. But anyway, he's applying for an extra year of eligibility, or he won't be here at all. Jamarian Latham is doing the same thing. But he committed last night. Good depth pickup, and someone that's going to help us. And then the fun started today. It started with Lorcan Quinn, the place kicker from Marshall via Ireland. Fantastic story. We might go over it later in this show or some other time. The whole lengthy story is just fascinating about how this kid ended up kicking an American football in the first place. It's a crazy story. It's a contest that he entered. No, this is not Seinfeld's contest. It's a different contest. But he,
God, I hope not.
Yeah, he entered a kicking contest. That was the first time he ever kicked an American football. It's like a year ago. I'm not kidding. It's like a year ago. It's the first time this guy ever kicked a football in his life. And his first team all Sun Belt, 4 out of 6 from 50+ yards. He is definitely upgraded. See, I thought late in the year Connor Talty had kind of straightened himself out to the point that I would have been okay with giving Talty another shot, or you go to the portal and definitively upgrade. That should have been the plan, like Talty or definitive upgrade. This is the definitive upgrade. You know, this guy's going to improve. Now you're going to have a new long snapper, the kid we got from Syracuse, a new punter. It's either going to be the kid from UNA or Alex Asparuhoff, who redshirted last year, and now almost certainly a new place kicker. If Talty sticks around, they'll compete. But I would say the kid from Ireland is very likely to win the job. I would say very likely, although I do think Connor Talty's better than his loudest critics insist. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe Talty enters the portal. I'm sure Alabama would like him to stay because that would be great depth, you know, at place kicker. But that's how we started the day. Lorcan, and that's how you pronounce his first name. I looked it up. Lorcan Quinn. Next to commit, Ty Haywood.
Wait a minute. Let me say this. That you mentioned all these special teams players. They also might have a new coach. Now, that hadn't been, nothing's definitive, but I mean, there are rumblings that they may have a new special teams coach. I'd be for it. I hate to talk somebody out of a job or whatever, but I mean, special teams for Alabama this year was just flat bad. I don't know another way to say it.
Special teams were atrocious, and whether, you know, DeBoer decides to lay some of that blame at Jay Nunez, that's up to DeBoer. But special teams efficiency was ranked in the 120s. There's only 136 teams, and you're ranked in the 120s. That's just outrageously bad. But they are getting a new punter, new kicker, new long snapper, and with Cole Adams, there'll be a new primary return guy too. So there'll be a lot of new. And by the way, James Nunez, this is what little I do know about it. His contract is expiring. He was on a 2-year deal. It's expiring. So maybe it just simply won't be renewed. I know some people would prefer the word fired, but his contract does run out, and maybe it won't be renewed. But so anyway, that's Lorcan Quinn. Let's move on.
Before you go into the other guys, because I do want to go to break and give everybody else their due time. It's funny. There is somebody in our chat discussing like, hey, have y'all gotten over not getting Cam Coleman yet? Let me say this. Apparently, a lot of people it's been sort of a runaway train that Alabama fans, you know, Alabama didn't get Cam Coleman. You and I were on the optimistic side. We were at 25%. I had never think we were definitely going to get him. I thought some things said maybe we could. And the fact is, I mean, if you had told me, like I said, if I could have Jacarius Peak or Cam Coleman, now we got neither one of them, but I'm taking Peak because we need that more.
And so, agreed. I'm almost upset. Who had the idea that we were getting? Where did people get the idea that Cam Coleman was going to go to Alabama? It wasn't from us, and it was. I mean, it wasn't from anyone I listened to. It wasn't BOL. You know, it wasn't Clint. It wasn't. I don't know where people got the idea. I guess people wanted it to be true so bad they talked themselves into it, but they didn't get it from us or any Alabama reporter that I listen to and give credence to. So I don't know where people got so optimistic. I felt weird saying 25%. Felt like, gosh, I probably shouldn't be that optimistic at 25%. And what did I say? Day one, when we talked about Cam Coleman, I said, I think he's going to go to Texas. And
he did. And here's the other thing. Not only, okay, fine, we didn't get him, but we also don't have to play against him. So, I mean, it's sort of like it's the best case scenario for us. He didn't go to A&M and he didn't stay at Auburn. I think we should be not unhappy. Need to talk to everybody about FanDuel. Hey, man, there's as we're getting this podcast going for today, and again, sorry that we're so late today, but Jimmy had some things going on. I'm in Baltimore. We are going to be regular time tomorrow, I think.
Yes.
But FanDuel, the NFL game is about to get started. The last one, go Texans. The college football playoff is also here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action for every single game of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on bets you already feel good about. Ride with the favorite when you think a team is controlling the matchup, or take a shot on the underdog, whatever you want to do. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. That's like compound interest. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. And of course, tell them it's a Jimmy Stein guarantee for your no % bonus. Yeah, I mean, use code Jimmy and see what happens. I mean, I don't think anything good will happen. Also,
no good will come of that.
Yeah. Please do consider joining the LockedOnBama.com/everydayer club. There's a Discord page that just turned into a ton of fun. Like, this thing got accidentally a lot of fun. It's like must check out. It's $5 a month. It's $50 for the year. Also, you have access to the podcasts that are ad-free. So, yeah, go check that out. We implore you to do that. You will enjoy it. Everybody that's joined it so far has seemingly had a good time, and we appreciate it. There are also some very talented people on that board, man. I mean, I'm impressed with some of those dudes. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other good things that happened today. First, boy, again, I've been working all day. So I think the first domino to fall was this afternoon, and it was Ty Haywood.
Yes, and obviously Ty Haywood is a big deal. Ty was a remarkable prospect coming out of – I don't think he was a 5-star on all the services, or I'm not even sure he's a 5-star in any one service, but he was one of these guys that was awfully close. I sort of in my head considered him a 5-star. I remember loving the tape. Dallas area kid, didn't play at Keelan school, but knew Keelan Russell. I think his mom and Ty's mom are kind of buddies. And he was going to go to Alabama, but then in the end got a financial package from Michigan that the Haywoods couldn't turn down. But he stayed on good terms with Alabama. It's the fans that get upset. The coaches do not, for this very reason. And now Ty Haywood ends up back at what is frankly his favorite team. I think he was kind of an Alabama fan when he was in high school. Now, where is he going to fit? This is what I like about Ty Haywood. He's a potential starter. I don't want to look at him any differently than I look at Jackson Lloyd, who was a 5-star and redshirted at Alabama last year. I think Ty Haywood has as much of a chance as Jackson Lloyd to be really good and be a starter next fall. But it is not a certainty. It's not a certainty because he hasn't played in college football games against big-time competition and proved himself. So it'll be a bit of a question mark. But it's great news to get him because he's a potential starter, and kind of a worst case scenario, he's a second-team guy with a bright future. And Alabama could use that too. So some people have said that he could move inside to guard. I suppose that's possible. I'm going to consider him a tackle until he actually moves to guard. Although some people say, hey, well, he can play inside, he can play outside. Most kids prefer tackle. And even if they're good at guard, and this is why it's not rocket surgery, tackles make more money. Tackles make a lot more money in the NFL than the guards do and the centers do. Tackles make more money in the portal than guards and centers do. So these kids that can play tackle, they want to play tackle, but they also want to get on the field. And some kids agree to move inside to get on the field. But I think, Formby's a good example of this. He moved inside because Michael Carroll was sort of beating him out at right tackle. So he moved inside so he could stay on the field. But once the season was over, he's like, I want to play tackle. And that's why he's going somewhere else. to do it. But anyway, so I'm saying Haywood could slide inside. One projection I see all the time, though, not really off subject, but I want to say it here so people get. I see some projections that have Michael Carroll slide inside, and I think that's because during recruiting, a lot of people considered him a guard. That's not going to happen. Michael Carroll's a tackle to stay. That's what Michael Carroll wants to do, and he's currently the most gifted lineman in the program. And if he wants to play right tackle, then he's going to play right tackle. This is not the old days. There's a portal now. So if he wants to play tackle, he's going to play tackle, and he's really good there. So any projection that has Michael Carroll sliding inside, I immediately don't believe it, because I think Michael Carroll's at right tackle to stay. The last commitment of the day, Noah Rogers. Man, this is a home run for me, Luke, and this is why. Alabama's pretty set. I mean, you got Latsier Brooks, you got Ryan Williams, you got Rico Scott, who's capable of starting next year, Derek Meadows, who I think is capable of starting. I think even Ced Morgan is capable of starting for Alabama next. So that's 5. So whoever you're adding is probably, I'm not going to say depth, because you still have competition for that first team rotation, but we weren't going to sign. That's another reason why I thought the Cam Coleman stuff was crazy. It's not like Alabama lost out on Cam Coleman and then said, okay, who's the next $1 million receiver that's available? They didn't want a $1 million receiver. They wanted Cam Coleman because they knew him and because he played for our new wide receiver coach, but they weren't dead set on a 7-figure receiver. They didn't have to pay $1 million to get Noah Rogers. But the thing I like about Noah is the perception of his talent was so big. He was a major recruit coming out of high school that signed with Ohio. Yeah, that signed with Ohio State to play wide receiver. That means that's top of the line stuff. Brian Hartline said, this guy's good enough to play receiver here. And so Ohio State took him. He was only there redshirted, only there a year, then went home to NC State. And true, he has not lit the world on fire. That's why he doesn't cost $1 million. He hasn't lit the world on fire, but he does have almost 1,000 yards receiving in 2 seasons. He's a first team player, plays with the ones and against the ones. So he's an experienced guy now. He'll be a redshirt junior in the fall. He's an ideal wide receiver 3, 4, 5. Ideal. I'm sort of almost surprised Alabama was able to land a guy with his resume and his upside based on what Alabama's got coming back. So this was really good recruiting, and I think a home run based on what I kind of thought we might have to have at wide receiver. I thought a lot of receivers would be like, well, I'm not going to play in front of Ryan. I'm not going to play in front of that Latsier Brooks guy. I'm not going to go to Alabama. I'm not going to, but Noah Rogers did. And I think he will be in the first team rotation. Last year we played 5 or 6 guys with the first team. I think he'll be one of those 5 or 6 guys, most likely.
It does make me think, and some people in the comments have made a good point. I mean, why talk about the guys we didn't get? But it does make me think like Jalen Mbakwe, if he had just hung around, I mean, he would certainly almost be in the rotation, at least at receiver, which is where we thought he wanted to be. But apparently he signed with Georgia Tech as a defensive back. I just – it's all weird.
I knew he was going to play defense. Now that he left, I can talk about it, but – yeah, I think he wanted to play defense here, but made up his mind way too late to go back. So I knew he was going to play defense in the next place. It gets to me a little bit because had he stayed and never moved from defense, I think he'd be on an NFL track at Alabama playing defense. And I think had he returned, if he stayed at Alabama and returned to defense in the spring, which they would have been great with, I think he could have been cornerback 3 or Husky 2 and would have played a considerable amount, but he'll play even more at Tech. That's probably true.
Dexter Wright 580 says, y'all hate who we have and crying about players that don't want to be at Bama. It's very weird. I think he's talking about the other people in the comments. I don't think he's talking about us necessarily. At least I'll give him that opportunity to clarify. Because I have sort of gotten that feel that look, we need to embrace the guys we get. I mean, you can still have your doubts all you want to, but it's a completely new landscape that none of us truly understand or probably love, but it's the way it is until somebody gets a handle on it. Now, what I've noticed the last couple of days, some guys from Oklahoma, some guys from Indiana, some guys from Oregon, they've all decided to get in the portal. This thing isn't done. Now, it's a dead period right this very minute. It's only like a 3-day dead period, which why have a 3-day dead period when the whole thing's
because there's a coaches convention, and that's why there's a coaches convention. That's why there's this dead period. But it is the timing of it is ridiculously bad. The timing of it.
It's especially bad now. It would be bad back when the transfer portal was just in its infancy, but now it's like it is such a cluster. Wow. And I want to go back to something you said about how people have this idea in their head that, like, if you're in the transfer portal, you're coming in to be a starter. I think because a lot of us still haven't worked that out of our system. Back years ago, do you remember Chris Donnelly, who was a starter for Alabama in the defensive backfield for the '92 team?
I remember him extremely well.
From Vandy. You what?
Yeah, I remember him extremely well.
Yeah, he started for us, and he had to sit out a year. But the whole thing was he was such an incredible freshman at Vandy. He was like, I need to do better in this. And he was it was weird because he sat out a whole year, and then he played, and he was awesome. But I think that's sort of the thing is people think if you're transferring in, you're transferring to start, because when transferring first got popular again, it was really grad transfers, and then it leaked into what it is now. But I think you're right. I think people aren't understanding that, we may sign a dude from Cal Poly, or I saw there's potentially a guy from Bucknell that we've offered. It doesn't mean he's necessarily going to start. It means he's another guy that's in practice that has some experience that, by God, we might need him to at least just stand there and be somebody that gets in the way of our defense.
Or compete for a spot. Just compete for a spot. If he competes for a spot, he'll make the players around him better. We need, in addition to starters, we need depth. And that's really across the board. Again, we have to have a roster with 105 guys. Jimmy 2 days ago said it's going to be terrible if we didn't get either. I don't remember saying specifically that. I'd have to go back and see what my quote was, because I don't really feel terrible that we don't get Hollywood Smothers or Raleek Brown. I do think that I did say that the failure to get Hollywood Smothers signed while he spent so much time at Alabama was a fail. I said that. And it is kind of crazy that you don't end up with one of them from where Alabama was. But at the same time, we're not privy to every fact we need to assign blame. Only like assigning blame when I know all the facts I need to know, and I don't know that here. I also talked about, I know one thing I've talked about is, and this is kind of crazy to say too, but if you bought in Smothers or Brown, you've probably blocked EJ Crowell from potentially being RB1. And see, I don't rule out Crowell being RB1. I don't rule it out, especially as the season progresses. He wouldn't have been if you bought in a really expensive running back. That guy would have been RB1 for sure. And
who's to say we won't get a running back?
And
I guess
right,
it's possible.
We're still looking at some interesting names like Christian Clark from Texas, the kid from Michigan State whose name escapes me right now, Mackay, somebody, Frazier. Yeah.
Nick Marsh was the receiver, and the running back, I can't remember his name either right now.
But another interesting name in the portal, maybe he's committed somewhere now, but Caden Durham from LSU is an interesting name.
That is a good one.
Because he's got a lot of SEC experience, and as a freshman, that guy was pretty outstanding. So I'm not giving up on a running back. I don't remember saying that, but I do think that it's kind of crazy Alabama didn't end up with Hollywood Smothers or Raleek Brown, considering they would have taken either one, and now it looks like they both end up at the same place. That is kind of crazy. I'm not considering it terrible. If I said that, I'll walk it back, because I'm okay with Alabama having EJ Crowell and AK Deer along with the returning veterans and Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley. And I don't think that's terrible. Again, I never blame.
You need another one, though. Well, you got the other kids you signed from that.
Trey Brown's coming in too. So that's a fifth guy. I'm also one that doesn't blame the running backs for the lack of production of the run game last fall. I think the running back room and the running backs were a part of the problem, but there were 5, 6, or 7 problems that all combined to affect the run game. And it wasn't just the running back room, which I think has improved with Crowell added to the mix.
No, I'm with you. And we'll talk about that. I do need to tell everybody about Wayfair. because Wayfair is awesome. Y'all know this. I just about don't have to tell you, but I'm gonna. The new year is here, and it's a perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start your year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh. Why did I start doing fresh like I don't, y'all, my mouth moves faster than my brain if y'all hadn't caught on. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and your budget. I picked up some new bedding, or my wife did, and accent pillows from Wayfair, and it completely changed how my bedroom feels. It's cleaner, it's calmer, and more put together than ever. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com. That's right. Go to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home, every Jimmy Stein guarantee. All right, first of all, one thing I didn't want, Did I? Oh, I muted you. No, you muted.
If I muted me, that was an accident, but maybe I did.
Maybe
I muted. Well,
all right. Well, what I want to say about EJ.
One quick thing about running back I want to say is, if you'd have told me right before the portals opened, asked me, hey, is Alabama going to sign a running back out of the portal? I would have said, I don't think so. That's what I would have said. But then the portal opened, and then Alabama's apparently getting Hollywood Smothers, and then my attitude was, oh, I'll take that guy. That guy, yes to him. I didn't think we could get that guy. So that's kind of where my tune changed on running back. I was never about we must add a running back. I kind of thought we would.
T. Sharf says, Luke, you went from Debbie Downer to Jolly Roger. Maybe so. I'm moody like that. If
welcome to the show.
Pills, you never know. Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Another thing I wanted to say about EJ Crowell, I love him. I mean, I've sung his praises. I'm as high on EJ Crowell as I was on Ryan.
We've considered renaming the podcast after him.
And it may come to that.
But I'm not abandoning Ryan. I'm not abandoning Ryan.
No, I'm with you.
As a matter of fact, I'm buying Ryan stock is what I'm doing. Now's a great time to buy Ryan stock. I'm all in on buying Ryan stock.
This is like buying Coke stock after they introduce new Coke.
Yes.
It's going to come back. So, all right.
Yes.
All right. But EJ, the one the one concern I always have had about EJ Crowell is because he is entering a year early, and you got a bunch of big SEC dudes coming at you, and I'm talking about picking up pass blocking and knowing where to go and how to be the guy, the emergency outlet and all those things. That's the only thing that worries me. Now, a couple of things. I want to talk about Bray Hubbard for a minute because, man, This is great news for Alabama. Huge. We needed him back. We got him back. Sure, it's going to cost some money, but that's okay. He is worth it. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the program. People need to look at this as if it was one of the top 10 guys in the portal. I believe if Bray Hubbard were in the portal, he'd be a top 10 guy in the portal.
Number one DB. It'd have to be like the number one DB in the portal. There's a good chance, guys, that, y'all might not put any stock in this. I do. I think it's important when those summer magazines come out, Lindy's and Athlons. You're going to open it next summer, and you're going to see Bray Hubbard as a first-team All-American on those preseason lists. First-team All-American. Xavier Brown might be also. I think we might have the best secondary in the country next year, Luke. I mean, I think.
No, okay. So, what's going on with Saab?
I've been saying all along here that I was optimistic that Hubbard would be back and that he wouldn't enter the draft, and I'm saying the same thing about Saab. I believe Saab will be back, and that will be announced soon. And by the way, Saab, this is fun. Also taking prop bets here. Saab, strong candidate to be a captain on that defense next year. He's one of the leaders in that locker room, and decent bet to be a captain next year.
Rhett DevGrew 01 says Daniel Hill is not that good, and putting all our hope and faith into a dude that just got his driver's license might not work out. Hey, that's what we just said. He is very young. I know he's young.
Yep.
Ryan Williams was very young when he came in, and Yeah, he had some growing pains, but he ironically had more pains this year than last year. Now, and I think EJ Crowell is special enough to come in and certainly make a move. And you're not right about Daniel Hill. I think he's pretty good, but I also think that my expectations were too high for Daniel Hill. I think he's pretty good. If Daniel Hill's your third back, or even like your second back on occasion, I'm down with that. As your first back, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you need something a little bit more explosive. But I like having Daniel Hill. Look, his receiving improved as the year went on. I thought his blocking improved. He had the nice long run against Oklahoma, which don't sell that short. We didn't have a lot of nice long runs. So if it goes Crowell, Deer, and then Hill, I mean, all of a sudden it looks really good. If the other two get hurt and it's Hill first, yeah, I think that could potentially be a problem. Now, one other thing, Bray Hubbard, is there anybody that I'm missing, Jimmy? You talked about the kicker. We've talked about the punter. Is there anybody else?
There is one I want to mention just because I'm so surprised. And again, it gets back to one of the points I made earlier in the show. Alabama is involved with Missouri pass rusher Damon Wilson. Might be the number one pass rusher available in the portal. He's going to be really pricey, of course. This is a proven bad man, and it looks like Alabama's sort of in that final group for him, and it's a bit of a surprise to me based on what Alabama was returning at Wolf. I think Damon Wilson's a little bit more of a Wolf than a Bandit, but maybe Alabama thinks he can get away with Bandit. You know, they'll probably watch a lot of tape. He's like 6'4", 250. Overton was the primary Bandit this past year at 280, but Renaud plays Bandit at around, Renaud's probably in the 260s, and he plays Bandit. So anyway, it's super interesting and proof of what I was telling you.
Does it worry that Damon Wilson has had he sort of leaves Georgia? I think he's suing Georgia, and then the Missouri thing is I think some things went on there too. Does that worry you at all? And secondly, I saw Shannon Terry tweet about him, and Shannon Terry specifically talked about him because he was just on an LSU visit, and he was saying this guy could get around $2 million. Is it worth that? I'm asking you. I'm not sure myself. I love it, but I'm just asking.
Well, he's a great pass rusher, and I would hope that if Alabama is going to invest the type of money it would take to get Damon Wilson, that they vetted him. I would hope that they have, because it's such a large investment. But it's a good example of what I've said all along. It drives me nuts. It's one of my soapbox things when I see Alabama fans either joke or say seriously, Alabama's broke, they don't pay. That's crazy. What they do is pay someone's value. They'll pay a kid over $1 million. They'll pay the quote $2 million if they feel the kid's value is $2 million. What they don't do is pay for an inflated value. If they see a kid and they're like, to us, that's a $400,000 player, they're not going to pay $600. They're not going to pay $700. They're going to pay $400. They pay the value. But if someone they legitimately value at $1 million or more, yes, they'll pay it if they feel they're getting their money's worth. It's all about asset allocation and the evaluation of the player. So Damon Wilson be just about as expensive as any non-quarterback in the portal. Alabama's a finalist. Now, I assure you, Damon Wilson's the type of guy, he's going to get his fair market value. He's made that pretty clear by entering the portal a couple of times. But no,
suing one of the schools.
Yeah, they're suing him. I mean, both. Yeah, Damon Wilson's got a lawsuit against Georgia. Georgia's suing him. He's suing them. He leaves Missouri. But again, if Alabama is going to spend 7 figures on a kid, you got to assume they've vetted him well in terms of fit. Another reason you got to get these kids on campus. I heard before there was some criticism about, why do you not make the formal offer to Peak? You got to get them on campus and get to know them a little bit. By the way, I'm going to talk about it, but there's been at least a couple of kids that Alabama was very interested in that have come to campus. They met with them and you know what? That's just not for us. And then they didn't offer them. That's just why you bring kids in, so you get to know them before you invest heavily.
And look, we've all been a fan of a team at some point that has had, or been on a team that had a cancer on it. And no matter how talented that person is, it always ends up biting you in the butt. It always does. Now, before we go, Just very well said.
I made that up. Just made that up.
That's a Jimmy Stein guarantee.
Yeah, I just made this up. Yeah.
All right. So I once told a woman I coined the phrase, pardon my French. So
I invented the Cobb salad.
All right. I want to talk a little bit very quickly about some of the guys going other places from Alabama. Sure. And then tomorrow on the show, we will be regular time, not live tomorrow, do a recorded show and then put it out, but should be at the normal time tomorrow. I saw, first of all, Kentucky is doing really well in this thing. And I'm both shocked and irritated that Kentucky and South Carolina are doing so well. And the reasoning is we play both of them. And I talked about this the other day when the SEC was making the schedule for this next 4 years. They're going to see how these 4 years go out and then maybe tweak it. They said they wanted to make it as equitable as possible while making sure everybody got to go to everybody else's venue. I'm down with that. And when they first said, hey, Alabama, this first year, yeah, you got Georgia. Yeah, you're at Tennessee. Yeah, you're at LSU. And you still got Auburn. And you got Texas A&M coming in. But you know what? To sort of counter that, we're going to give you South Carolina and Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Well, lo and behold, Vanderbilt just got who did they get? They know they got Owen Cabell, but they also got
Cole Adams.
They get Cole Adams
and Micah DeBoer.
And they got Micah DeBoer. Then Kentucky, they get Olis Alinen, and they also get Lance Hurd, who might have been the best tackle outside of Peak in the whole transfer portal. And they also got a couple of other big tackles. They got a nice sporty looking offensive line.
Kenny Minchie from Nebraska. I mean, they hit a home run. They had a home run with Kenny Minchie, who I know through QB country, kid from Nashville. I know his game really well. He has a chance to be a spectacular college football player. Will Stein, my cousin, as I call him, he's not really my cousin, but I call him that. Will Stein has been extremely aggressive in the portal. And I wonder if being neighbors with Indiana, you got to know they invoke that all the time. Would they look at Indiana's success? And I think Will Stein's the type that's like, why not us? I mean, Indiana, why not us? And they're just being very aggressive in the portal. I talked to somebody one time who talked to Will Stein and asked him, without my consent or knowledge, asked him, said, are you related to Jimmy Stein? And Will Stein said, who the hell is that? And the thing that's
I wish he had said, I'm not related to him, and that's a Will Stein guarantee.
Thing is, people listen to the show have the same question.
So, Kentucky's doing well. South Carolina, we all know they got Peak and they got some other dudes. It's just like, hey, man, just as soon as we think we're going to get a break, again, people like Danny Cannell and SEC haters will say we're just propping up the schedule already, telling you next year is a bugaboo. But the other thing, Quay Russaw and James Smith both going to Ohio State. I mean, look, I hate not having them. I'd love to have them. But I'm with you. I mean, you got one guy who wanted to play a different, or who was beat out at one position, who I like. I love Quay Russaw, and I love James Smith. But apparently he was asking for a little bit more money than we wanted to pay, and Ohio State's going to pay it, and I wish them well. Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, well, I look at them sort of like I look at Caleb Downs. I mean, since they're just Ohio State players to me. I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not against them. I don't wish any ill will, but heck, they play for Ohio State, not Alabama. I think Malachi Moore said it best, and I can't say it on this show what Malachi Moore said, but I sort of feel that way a little bit too. He said if they ain't in crimson, and then he finished it in a way that we can't finish it here at Locked On Bama.
Final comment of the day. Sure would be nice if some of these Alabama guys would come back. Look, Keon Keeley's committed to Notre Dame. We talked about Russaw and Smith.
There was a couple guys that entered the portal that they worked to come back. That they we recruited them while they were in the portal, just like everyone else did. We tried to get a couple back. Most of them, they were fine with them walking. Again, it comes down to a value. It's not like Alabama ran off too many kids. What happened was the kid or his agent wanted a figure Alabama was not comfortable with paying. Say, in my mind, you're worth $300,000, not $800,000. I mean, if somebody else is going to pay you $8, then go get it. You're not going to get it here.
And I said the final comment earlier. Now this will be the final comment. Said, I think Yonze Pierre is the best pass rusher in the country. And I do think, Jimmy, I think you'll back me up. We believe Yonze Pierre will be announced that he will be returning. We don't think he's going to enter the portal or the draft. I think he will be back. I feel much more confident about that than I did some of these other predictions.
And just like Hubbard, that's going to cost Alabama a lot. But again, they pay the players that have proven value, and Yonze and Bray Hubbard proved it. They proved it. So they're going to get paid. And those are just good examples of that. And again, there's guys in the portal. I assure you, Ty Haywood wasn't cheap. He didn't play. Ty Haywood wasn't cheap. There's a couple other guys in the portal they paid quite a bit for. They had paid. They were going to pay Hollywood Smothers a lot too. There's this idea because Texas paid him more that Alabama wasn't paying enough. Alabama had a significant outlay for Hollywood Smothers. Did Texas beat it? Well, obviously, but that doesn't mean that Alabama didn't have a significant offer.
And, I've also seen on different message boards people saying, I'm just so tired of kids chasing the money. Well, we got kids coming to us that are chasing money too. I mean, it's until this thing gets corralled, and I have no idea how to do it. And it doesn't sound like anybody's got a good plan to do it. I don't know what is going to change. All right, so we got to leave it here. But Jimmy, tomorrow we'll go regular time. And I want to talk some more about some of the guys Alabama's bringing in and maybe talk about some other prospects because, shoot, there have been new offers today. So, I mean, and there have been also some other guys. One of Oklahoma's defenders got in the portal today. I mean, that was a starter. I mean, it's crazy times, y'all. So bear with us, and we will be back tomorrow at this time. Man, appreciate you guys. Sorry that we didn't come out this morning. I had work. Jimmy had stuff, and sometimes it happens. But we said we're going to go live then. That's what we're going to do. So we appreciate you guys so very much. And until tomorrow, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.